Marcus Cole ripped open his maintenance coveralls and shoved the USB drive into Claire Ashford's face. "Your father killed 47 people to hide what's on this. Tonight you're going to watch every single second of it." The elevator lights exploded. Glass rained down. Claire screamed. The car dropped 3 feet and stopped dead between floors 42 and 43. In the red emergency glow, Marcus grabbed her arm. "We have 6 minutes before they cut the backup cables. So you can either die not knowing why, or you can listen to the man who's been mopping your floors for 7 years. Claire's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Don't listen to him, or your daughter dies like his wife did." She looked up at Marcus. "What wife? You told HR you were a widower." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I am. They just didn't tell you who made me one." Drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this story has traveled. Marcus Cole had rehearsed this moment 1,100 times. 1,100 nights mopping the same floors. 1,100 nights watching Claire Ashford walk past him like he was furniture. 1,100 nights with the USB drive burning a hole in his chest. Tonight, the elevator made its choice for him. "Get away from me." Claire pressed herself against the elevator wall. Her Gucci heels slipped on the polished floor. Her $2,000 blazer bunched against cold metal. "I'll scream." "Scream all you want. We're between floors. No one's coming. I'll have you arrested. You'll what?" Marcus held up the USB drive. "Call your head of security, Richard Hayes. The same Richard Hayes who sent you that text 5 seconds ago." Claire's face went white. "How do you know who?" "Because he's the one who murdered my wife." The words hit her like a physical blow. That's insane. Richard has worked for my family for 20 years. He threatened my daughter. He framed me for embezzlement. And when my wife tried to go to the FBI, she drove her car off the Chesapeake Bay Bridge at 2 a.m. Marcus stepped closer. "They called it suicide. Said she couldn't handle the stress of being married to a criminal. Her body was never recovered." "I don't believe you." "I don't care if you believe me. I care if you look." Marcus plugged the USB drive into the elevator's diagnostic port. The emergency screen flickered. Files appeared. Hundreds of them. Claire's eyes moved across the screen. Account numbers, wire transfers, dates. "This doesn't prove." August 15, 2017. $300 million transferred to a shell company in the Caymans. Your father's digital signature, right there. Signatures can be forged. September 3, 2017. Another $200 million, different shell company. Same signature, same routing number as your family's private trust. Stop. October. I said stop, her voice cracked. The sound bounced off metal walls. Marcus stopped. For a moment, the only sound was the building settling around them. Steel groaning, cables humming. Then Claire spoke again. Quieter. "If any of this were real, why wouldn't you have gone to the police? The FBI? Anyone?" "I did. And Agent Patricia Womack. Organized Crime Division. She was building a case for 6 months. Had subpoenas ready. Search warrants, everything." "What happened to her?" "Car accident, single vehicle, no witnesses." Marcus's voice flattened. 2 weeks after my wife." Claire's hand trembled against the rail. "You're saying my father—" "I'm saying $3 billion buys a lot of accidents." The elevator shuddered. Both grabbed the handrails. "What was that?" Marcus checked the diagnostic screen. His face changed. "Someone's accessing the system remotely." "That's impossible. Your security answers to Richard Hayes. The same Richard Hayes who knows we're trapped in here. The same one who just texted your phone." Claire looked at her phone again. The text glowed on the screen. "Don't listen to him, or your daughter dies like his wife did." "I don't have a daughter," she said. "No, but I do." The weight of it landed. "Emma," Marcus said. "She's 12. lives with my sister in Maryland because I couldn't risk keeping her close. Because every day I stay in this building, every day I gather evidence I'm gambling with her life. Then why stay? Why not just disappear? Because your father took everything from me. My career, my wife, my reputation. And the only thing I have left is the truth. He pointed at the screen. That truth. The elevator dropped again. Harder. Claire stumbled. Marcus caught her arm. They're cutting us loose, he said. Who? Richard. His people. Whoever's monitoring the building systems right now. That's murder. They can't just... They can. They will. And tomorrow the headline will read, Tragic elevator accident kills CEO. Maybe they'll blame faulty maintenance. Maybe they'll blame me. Either way, you're dead and the secrets stay buried. Claire's breathing quickened, panic rising. Then do something. You work here. You know these systems. I know how to mop floors. I know how to fix toilets. I know how to be invisible. Marcus moved to the maintenance panel below the buttons. But I also spent 7 years studying every blueprint, every schematic, every emergency protocol in this building. Because I knew this day would come. He yanked open the panel. Wires spilled out. What are you doing? Manual override. If I can bypass the remote access, I can lock them out long enough to get the doors open. And then what? We climb. Claire looked at him like he'd lost his mind. Climb where? Up. Service ladder in the shaft. 3 floors to the mechanical room. From there we can access the stairwell. I can't climb 3 floors in the dark. You can, or you can stay here and find out what happens when 42 floors of elevator shaft meets the basement. Marcus worked fast. His fingers moved through wires with practiced precision. How do you know how to do that? Claire asked. Electrician certification. Night school. One of the many skills you learn when no one in your industry will hire you anymore. The panel sparked. The elevator lurched, then steadied. I locked them out. We've got maybe 4 minutes before they find a workaround. He grabbed his crowbar from the maintenance bucket and jammed it into the door seam. Metal screamed against metal. Help me! Claire didn't move. I'm not going out there. Then you're dying in here. You don't know that. I know Richard Hayes. I know what he's capable of. And I know that the only reason you're still alive right now is because you haven't seen what's on that drive. The doors cracked open. 6 inches. A foot. Beyond them, darkness. The raw concrete of the elevator shaft. And above, barely visible in the emergency lighting, the edge of floor 43. I can't. You have to. I can't. Marcus stopped. He turned to face her. For a moment, he wasn't a janitor. He wasn't a victim. He was a father who had lost everything and somehow kept standing. 7 years ago, I had a corner office on the 40th floor. I had a wife who loved me. I had a daughter who thought I was a hero. Your father took all of that because I found something I wasn't supposed to find. He held up the USB drive. This is my life. Every sleepless night. Every humiliation. Every time your employees looked through me like I was made of glass. It's all on here. And the only thing that kept me going, the only thing was believing that someday someone in your family would be brave enough to look. Claire stared at him. Why me? Why not go to the press? The FBI? Anyone else? Because you're the only one who can access your father's private files, the original documents, the evidence that proves everything on this drive is real. And if I refuse, then Richard wins. The truth stays buried, and I die knowing my wife died for nothing. The elevator groaned, the sound of cables straining. Claire looked at the gap in the doors, the darkness beyond. My father was a great man. Your father was a monster who smiled for cameras. He built hospitals, schools. He built them with stolen money, blood money. $3 billion that came from defrauded pension funds, from collapsed companies, from people who lost everything so your family could have more. You don't know. I know everything. I've had 7 years to learn it. 7 years of watching, listening, gathering. I know about the offshore accounts. I know about the shell companies. I know about the board members who looked the other way. And I know about you." Claire's eyes narrowed. "What about me?" "You're not like him. You don't know me. I know you stayed late on Christmas Eve 2 years ago to help a janitor who slipped on ice. Drove him to the hospital yourself because you didn't want him to wait for an ambulance. Paid his medical bills anonymously. Thought no one knew." Claire's face shifted. "That janitor was my friend. 63 years old, 2 grandkids. Your father would have fired him for being injured on company property. You saved his job. That was different." "Why?" "Because he was hurt. He needed help. So does everyone your father stole from. So do the families of everyone who died because they got too close to the truth." Marcus's voice softened. "So do I." The elevator dropped 6 inches. Both grabbed the rails. "We're out of time," Marcus said. "Make a choice." Claire looked at the USB drive. At Marcus. At the darkness beyond the doors. "If I go with you, if I look at what's on that drive, I can't unsee it." "No, you can't. Everything changes. Everything already has. You just don't know it yet." Claire closed her eyes, took a breath. When she opened them, something had shifted. The CEO mask cracking. "How do we climb?" Marcus almost smiled. "Grab the door frame. I'll boost you. There's a service ladder 2 feet to the right. Don't look down." Claire kicked off her heels. They fell into the elevator car. "Those cost $400. You can buy new ones if we survive." She grabbed the door frame. Marcus grabbed her waist lifted. She grunted, pulled, scrambled. Her fingers found the ladder. Cold metal. Rust scraping her palms. "I've got it. Climb. Don't stop." Marcus pulled himself through the gap. The elevator screamed below him. He found the ladder, started climbing. Above him, Claire struggled. Her silk blouse torn on a bolt. Her stockings shredded. "Keep moving." "I'm trying." "Try harder." Emma tries harder on her school's rock climbing wall. She's 12. Something about that pushed Claire. She climbed faster. 1 floor. The darkness absolute. The only sound was their breathing and the groan of metal. 2 floors. Claire's arms burned. Her fingers bled. "I can't." "You can. 20 more feet." The elevator below them screamed. A cable snapped. The car dropped 5 feet. "Climb." They climbed, hand over hand, rung after rung. Marcus looked up. The edge of floor 43. So close. 10 more feet. Keep going." Claire sobbed, but kept moving, her whole body shaking. 5 feet. 3 feet. Her hand found the edge of the floor. She pulled. Marcus pushed from below. She rolled onto solid ground, gasping, crying. Marcus pulled himself up beside her, both of them lying on cold concrete, breathing like they'd run a marathon. Behind them, the final cable snapped. The elevator plummeted. 42 floors of screaming metal crashing into the basement with a sound like the end of the world. Then, silence. Claire rolled onto her back, stared at the ceiling. "We're alive. For now." Marcus stood. Offered his hand. She took it. The 43rd floor stretched before them. Emergency lights only. Red shadows on white walls. "Where do we go?" "Mechanical room. End of the hall. From there." Marcus stopped. Footsteps. Coming from the stairwell. He pushed Claire behind a pillar. Pressed a finger to his lips. The stairwell door opened. 3 men walked through. Security uniforms. But not building security. Private contractors. The kind you hired when you needed problems to disappear. And leading them phone in hand was Richard Hayes. 62 years old, silver hair, tailored suit, the face of a grandfather, the eyes of a shark. He stopped in the middle of the hallway, looked around. "Marcus," he called out. "I know you're here. I know she's with you." Silence. "You've been a very patient man. 7 years is a long time to wait. But patience has its limits, doesn't it? He smiled, the kind of smile that never reached his eyes. I've been patient too, waiting for you to make a mistake. And tonight, you finally did. He held up his phone. On the screen, a photo of a young girl. Brown hair, freckles, standing outside a school in Maryland. Emma. Marcus's blood turned to ice. My people are very efficient, Richard said. They can be at her school in 40 minutes, or they can stay exactly where they are. Your choice. Claire looked at Marcus, saw the terror in his eyes. That's your daughter. Marcus didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Richard kept talking. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me that USB drive. You're going to walk out of this building and never come back. And Miss Ashford here is going to have a tragic accident. Very sad. Very clean. She doesn't know anything, Marcus said, his voice hoarse. She knows enough. She's seen the files. That makes her a liability. Richard shrugged. Just like her father was becoming at the end. Just like your wife was. Claire's head snapped toward him. What did you say about my father? Richard smiled. Henry Ashford was a visionary, built this company from nothing. But visionaries get soft, get sentimental. He was going to confess everything, donate the money to charity, make amends. Richard laughed. Can you imagine $3 billion just given away because of guilt? You killed him. I saved this company. I saved the board. I saved everyone who would have gone to prison if Henry had his little crisis of conscience. He looked at Claire with something like pity. And I saved you. Do you know what federal prison does to someone like you? A woman like you? Claire stepped out from behind the pillar. Ms. Ashford, don't. Marcus reached for her, but she was already walking toward Richard. My father's death was ruled a heart attack. Hearts can be persuaded to attack, with the right chemistry. You murdered him. I removed an obstacle. Richard's smile widened. Just like I'm going to remove you. He nodded to his men. They moved forward. Claire's voice rang out clear and cold. Building Security System Authorization Code, Delta 79, Lockdown Protocol Alpha. Execute. The lights shifted. Locks clicked throughout the floor. The three contractors stopped, looked around. Richard's smile flickered. Nice try, but I control building security. Your codes don't. Every door on the floor slammed shut. Every elevator locked. Every stairwell sealed. Claire straightened her torn blouse. You control building security through the main system. But my father gave me emergency override access when I was 16, in case anything ever happened to him. She paused. I guess he knew something might. Richard's face darkened. This changes nothing. I have people outside. People watching your precious janitor's daughter. One phone call. Make it. Claire's voice didn't waver. Call them. Tell them to take Emma Cole. And then watch what happens when the FBI gets the files I just sent to their encrypted server 3 minutes ago. She held up her phone. Richard's eyes widened. You're bluffing. My father's personal encryption key. The one even you don't have. Every file on that USB drive, every transaction, every signature backed up to a server that will auto-release to every major news outlet in 6 hours. Unless I enter the abort code. Marcus stared at her. How did you... I'm not my father. Claire looked at Richard. But I learned everything he knew, including how to destroy the people who betrayed him. The standoff hung in the air. Richard's phone buzzed. He looked at it. His face changed. Sir? One of the contractors. We're locked in. Can't access the stairwells. Break the doors down. They're reinforced steel. We'd need... Then find another way. Claire stepped closer. There is no other way. You built this building to be impenetrable. Congratulations. It works. She stopped 3 feet from Richard. Here's what's going to happen. Your men are going to put down their weapons. You're going to call off whoever you have watching Emma Cole. and then you're going to tell me everything. Or what? Or in 6 hours your face will be on every news channel in America. And in 6 hours and 15 minutes, you'll be in federal custody. She tilted her head. How do you think you'll do in prison, Richard? A man like you. Richard's jaw tightened. For a long moment no one moved. Then he laughed. Low, cold, genuine. You really are Henry's daughter. He slid his phone into his pocket. He would have been proud. Right before he was terrified. My father wasn't afraid of anything. Your father was afraid of me. That's why he was going to confess. He thought coming clean would protect you. Protect the legacy. Richard shook his head. He was wrong. Just like you are now. He raised his hand. The contractors drew their weapons. Marcus moved. He grabbed Claire, pulled her behind him, put himself between her and the guns. Don't. Richard raised an eyebrow. Touching. The janitor protecting the princess. He nodded to his men. Kill them both. We'll figure out the lockdown later. The lead contractor raised his weapon. Claire's phone buzzed. Then Richard's phone buzzed. Then every phone on the floor buzzed. The emergency speakers crackled to life. A voice filled the hallway. Female. Professional. Unfamiliar. This is Special Agent Torres, FBI Organized Crime Division. Mr. Hayes, please advise your men to lower their weapons. The building is surrounded. Backup is en route. Any hostile action will result in immediate response. Richard froze. That's impossible. I have people in the bureau. I would have known. You knew about Patricia Womack. Claire's voice was steel. You didn't know about the investigation she started before you killed her. The one that's been running for 7 years. The one that's been waiting for exactly this moment. She held up her phone. On the screen, a video feed. Dozens of FBI vehicles surrounding the building. SWAT teams moving into position. I didn't just send the files 3 minutes ago, Richard. I sent them 7 years ago. To a server my father set up before he died, with instructions to release if anything happened to me. Richard's face crumbled. Henry wouldn't. Henry did. He knew what you were. He knew what you'd done. And he knew that someday someone would need proof. She looked at Marcus. He just didn't know it would be a janitor who found it. The stairwell doors burst open. FBI agents poured through. Weapons drawn. Commands shouted. Richard's contractors dropped their guns, raised their hands. Richard Hayes stood perfectly still. You think this is over? He said quietly. You think one arrest changes anything? This company has roots everywhere. Board members, politicians, judges. You can't. Maybe not, Claire said. But I can start. 2 agents flanked Richard. Handcuffs clicked around his wrists. As they led him away, he looked back at Marcus. 7 years. 7 years you waited. For what? You're still nobody. Still invisible. Marcus stepped forward. I'm a father. I'm a witness. And I'm the man who watched you destroy everything I loved. He held up the USB drive. But I'm not invisible anymore. Richard's face twisted with rage. The agents pulled him toward the stairwell. He was still screaming threats when the door closed behind him. Silence fell. Claire turned to Marcus. Is it true what you said about the FBI investigation? I sent files to Agent Womack's personal server the day before she died. Set up an automatic release. If anything happened to me, if anything happened to Emma, everything goes public. You've been playing a long game. I've been surviving. There's a difference. Claire looked around the hallway, the chaos, the aftermath. What happens now? Now. Marcus exhaled. Now I call my daughter and tell her it's over. Then I sleep for about a week. Then... He stopped. Then what? Then I figure out how to be visible again. Claire nodded slowly. I'm going to need help, rebuilding the company, cleaning out everyone Richard touched. It's going to take years. Sounds like a lot of work. It is. She paused. I could use someone who knows where all the bodies are buried. Marcus looked at her. The CEO who had walked past him for 7 years, the woman who had never seen him, who saw him now. I don't want an office. What do you want? Marcus thought about it. My daughter's school has a father-daughter dance next month. I've missed the last 7. Claire almost smiled. I think we can arrange that. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from his sister. Saw the news. Emma's crying. Says she always knew her dad was a hero. Call her. He looked at the message for a long moment. Then he looked at Claire. I need to make a call. Go. I'll handle the FBI. Marcus walked toward the window. The city stretched below him. 43 floors of lights and shadows. He dialed. Daddy. Emma's voice. 12 years old. Trembling. Hey, sweetheart. Are you okay? The news is saying, I'm okay. I'm fine. They said a building. They said FBI. They said, Emma, listen to me. She went quiet. It's over. Everything I've been doing, everything I couldn't tell you. It's over. What do you mean? I mean I'm coming home. Really coming home. And I'm never leaving again. Silence. Then, promise. Marcus closed his eyes. I promise. He heard her crying. Happy tears. The kind he hadn't heard in 7 years. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, Em, more than anything. He hung up. Outside the window, the first light of dawn was breaking over the city. Marcus Cole had been invisible for 7 years. Not anymore. The sun had barely risen when the first camera crews arrived. Marcus watched them through the lobby windows. Vans with satellite dishes. Reporters with perfect hair and hungry eyes. All of them circling the building like sharks smelling blood. Mr. Cole. An FBI agent approached. Young. Professional. Clipboard in hand. We need your statement. Full debrief. Could take several hours. I've been waiting 7 years to give it. There's a conference room on the 3rd floor. Agent Torres is ready for you. Marcus turned from the window. Claire stood near the elevator bank surrounded by agents and attorneys. Her torn blouse had been replaced with an FBI windbreaker. Her bare feet were wrapped in medical bandages. She looked nothing like a CEO. She looked human. Their eyes met across the lobby. She nodded once. He nodded back. Then he followed the agent to the 3rd floor. The conference room smelled like stale coffee and desperation. Agent Torres sat at the head of the table. Mid-40s, sharp eyes. The kind of face that had seen too much and forgotten how to be surprised. Mr. Cole, please sit. Marcus sat. Before we begin, I want you to know that Patricia Womack was my partner. 23 years. She was the godmother to my daughter. Marcus said nothing. When she died, I knew it wasn't an accident. I just couldn't prove it. Until now. Torres slid a folder across the table. Your files. The ones you sent to her server. I've been building on them for 7 years. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting for someone inside to crack. I didn't crack. The elevator did. Torres almost smiled. Walk me through it. Everything. From the beginning. So Marcus talked. He talked about finding the discrepancies in 2017, about the shell companies and offshore accounts, about going to Henry Ashford and watching the old man's face shift from gratitude to calculation in the span of 3 seconds. He talked about the arrest, the charges, the lawyers who bled him dry before the case was dropped. He talked about Sarah. She believed me when no one else did. Stood by me through the trial, the media circus, all of it. Then she started digging on her own. What did she find? I don't know. She never got the chance to tell me. Marcus's voice caught. The night before she died, she called me. Said she'd found something big. Something that would blow the whole thing open. She was excited, scared, both. And the next morning, the police showed up at my door. Said her car had gone off the bridge. Said there were no witnesses. Said sometimes people just break. Torres wrote something in her notebook. Did you believe them? I believed that my wife was murdered. I believed that if I pushed any harder, my daughter would be next. So I stopped pushing. But you kept the files. I kept everything, and I waited. For what? Marcus looked at her. For someone brave enough to help me finish what Sarah started. The debriefing lasted 6 hours. Marcus told them everything. Every document, every transaction, every name he'd uncovered in 7 years of watching and listening. When it was over, Torres stood. You've given us enough to take down half the board, maybe more. But Hayes was just the enforcer. There are bigger fish. I know. We're going to need you to testify. Grand jury. Possibly trial. I'll do whatever it takes. Torres extended her hand. Patricia would have liked you. Marcus shook it. I wish I'd met her. He was walking toward the elevator when his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think it's over? Look closer at the woman you're protecting. Ask her about Geneva. Ask her about 2019. Ask her what she really knew. Marcus stared at the message. Then he deleted it. Probably nothing. Probably someone trying to mess with his head. Probably. He found Claire in a small office on the 4th floor. She was alone staring at a laptop screen, her face lit by the pale glow. They let you go. For now. More questions tomorrow. Marcus closed the door behind him. You okay? I just watched my father's CFO get arrested for his murder. I found out everything I believed about my family was a lie, and I haven't slept in 36 hours. She looked up at him. I'm spectacular. That bad. Worse. She turned the laptop toward him. Look at this. The screen showed financial records, transactions, dates. What am I looking at? The files from your USB drive. I've been cross-referencing them with the company's official records, trying to find the gaps. And there are more accounts, ones even you didn't know about. Richard was moving money through them as recently as last month. Marcus leaned closer. How much? Another 800 million. At least? Where was it going? Claire's jaw tightened. That's what I'm trying to figure out. But some of these transactions have my signature on them. Forged? I don't know. That's the problem. I sign hundreds of documents a week. Richard brings them to me. I trust him, I sign. She laughed bitterly. Trusted him. You didn't know. Didn't I? Claire pushed back from the desk. I was so focused on proving I deserved this job that I never stopped to ask what the job actually was. I just signed whatever they put in front of me. Smiled for the cameras. Gave speeches about innovation and integrity. You were manipulated. I was convenient. There's a difference. She stood up, walked to the window. My father used to tell me that business was war, that you had to be ruthless to survive. I thought he meant working hard, making tough decisions. I didn't realize he meant... She couldn't finish. Marcus joined her at the window. He wasn't all bad. You're defending him. After everything he did to you. I'm saying people are complicated. He destroyed my life, but he also set up that server, left evidence that could bring down his own legacy. He knew what he'd become, and at the end he tried to make it right. By dying. By giving you a choice. Claire turned to face him. What choice? To be better than him. They stood in silence for a moment, the city humming below them. Then Claire's phone rang. She looked at the screen. Her face changed. Who is it? My mother. She answered. Mom, I know. I've seen the news. I'm fine. She stopped, listened. Her face went pale. When? How long ago? Marcus watched her. Something was wrong. Don't touch anything. I'm coming. She hung up. What happened? Someone broke into my mother's house. She came home from her trip early and found the place ransacked. They were looking for something. What? My father's study. They tore it apart, took files, hard drives, everything. Richard's people. Richard's in custody. This is someone else. Claire grabbed her jacket. I have to go. I'm coming with you. Marcus, you don't have to. Your father's study. His private files. That's exactly what we need to connect the rest of the board. If someone's trying to destroy evidence, we need to get there first. Claire hesitated, then nodded. Let's go. The drive to Greenwich took 40 minutes. Claire's mother lived in a colonial mansion on 3 acres of manicured lawn. The kind of house that whispered old money and older secrets. Police cars lined the driveway. Yellow tape fluttered in the morning breeze. Eleanor Ashford stood on the front steps. 71 years old, silver hair perfectly styled, the kind of woman who had never been seen without makeup in her entire adult life. She looked at Marcus with barely concealed disdain. Who is this? A friend, Mom. He's helping me. Helping you do what exactly? Destroy your father's legacy on national television. Mom. I've had reporters calling all morning, board members, our attorneys. Everyone wants to know what you're going to say. What you're going to do. Eleanor's voice cracked. Your father spent 50 years building this company, and in one night you've torn it all down. Dad was a criminal. Your father was a complicated man, like all great men. He stole $3 billion. He had people killed. He provided for this family. He gave you everything, and this is how you repay him. Claire stepped back like she'd been slapped. Marcus stepped forward. Mrs. Ashford, your husband framed me for embezzlement. His people murdered my wife, and last night they tried to kill your daughter, so maybe save the grief for someone who deserves it. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. I don't know who you are, but you have no right. I have every right. I spent 7 years mopping floors in your husband's building because he decided my life was worth less than his secrets. So don't talk to me about legacy. Don't talk to me about reputation. Your husband's legacy is a trail of bodies and broken families, and your daughter is trying to fix it. Eleanor looked at Claire. You're working with this person. This person saved my life. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Eleanor spoke. The study is upstairs. They took most of the files, but there's a safe behind the bookshelf. They didn't find it. You have the combination. Your father never told me. Said it was for my protection. Eleanor's voice softened just slightly. He said a lot of things were for my protection. Claire touched her mother's arm. I'm going to fix this, Mom. I promise. Some things can't be fixed, Claire. They can only be survived. The study looked like a tornado had hit it. Papers everywhere, drawers pulled out and emptied, books scattered across the floor. But the bookshelf on the north wall remained intact. Claire ran her fingers along the spines until she found what she was looking for. A first edition of The Great Gatsby. Her father's favorite book. She pulled it. The shelf swung open, revealing a wall safe. Do you know the combination? No. But I know my father. She tried her birthday. Nothing. Her mother's birthday. Nothing. The company's founding date. Nothing. There must be thousands of possible combinations. He used to say that the best secrets hide in plain sight, Claire thought. What was the date? The date you found the files. July 14th, 2017. She entered 07-14-17. The safe clicked open. Inside a single envelope, thick, heavy, addressed to Claire in her father's handwriting. He knew, she whispered. Knew what? He knew someone would find out. He knew I'd end up here looking for answers. She opened the envelope. Inside were documents. Dozens of them. But not financial records. Not transaction logs. Letters. Handwritten letters from Henry Ashford to his daughter. Claire began to read. The first letter was dated 2015. My dearest Claire, if you're reading this, then I am gone, and you have discovered what I truly was. I want you to know that everything I did for you. For your mother. For our family. That doesn't make it right. But I hope someday it will help you understand. The second letter was dated 2016. The board doesn't know how deep this goes. They think they're partners. They're tools. The real power is held by people whose names you've never heard. People who've been moving money through governments and corporations for decades. I became involved because I was ambitious. I stayed involved because I was afraid. The third letter was dated January 2017, 6 months before Marcus found the files. His name is Victor Crane. He controls everything. The accounts, the politicians, the bodies. Richard works for him, not me. He has never told me where he operates from, but I believe it's somewhere in Europe. Geneva, perhaps. Or Zurich. If you want to end this, truly end it, you must find him. But Claire, please understand, if you go after Crane, he will come after you. He will destroy everything you love, just as he destroyed the man I used to be. Claire's hands were shaking. Who's Victor Crane? I don't know. I've never heard that name. Neither have I. And I've been studying these people for 7 years. Claire kept reading. The fourth letter was dated March 2017. I've decided to confess, to turn myself in, to give the FBI everything they need. Richard suspects. He's been watching me. I fear I've made a terrible mistake by trusting him. If something happens to me, know that I loved you. Know that I tried at the end to do the right thing. And know that the evidence you need is not in this safe. It's somewhere only you would think to look. Somewhere we went together, just the two of us. Do you remember, Claire? Do you remember where we went? Claire looked up. He's talking about something. A place. Somewhere we went together. Where? I don't know. We went a lot of places when I was growing up. Vacations, business trips. Think. Where would he hide something important, somewhere nobody else would know about? Claire closed her eyes. There was a cabin, in Vermont. We used to go there when I was a kid, just the two of us. Mom hated the cold, so she never came. Would anyone else know about it? I don't think so. It wasn't in his name. He bought it through a trust, said it was his escape from the world. That's where we need to go. Marcus, if Victor Crane is real, if he's as powerful as my father says, going after him could get us both killed. We're already targets. Richard's arrest will have sent shockwaves through their entire network. They'll be scrambling to cover their tracks, destroy evidence, eliminate witnesses. All the more reason to let the FBI handle it. The FBI can't protect everyone. They couldn't protect my wife. They couldn't protect Agent Womack. Marcus picked up the letters. But maybe if we find what your father hid, we can finish this ourselves. Claire looked at the letters in his hands. You really believe that? I believe your father wanted to make things right. And I believe he trusted you to finish what he started. He didn't trust me. He kept me in the dark for years. He kept you safe. There's a difference. You keep saying that. Because it keeps being true. Claire took a deep breath. Vermont is a 6-hour drive. Then we better get started. They took Claire's car, a Mercedes SUV that cost more than Marcus earned in 5 years. He didn't mention it. The drive north was quiet at first, both of them lost in their own thoughts. Somewhere around Hartford, Claire spoke. Tell me about your wife. Marcus glanced at her. Why? Because you've been carrying her with you for 7 years, and because I want to understand what this cost you. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Her name was Sarah. We met in college, accounting class. She sat next to me because I looked like I knew what I was doing. I didn't. But I pretended well enough that she agreed to study together. Love at first sight. More like confusion at first sight. I couldn't figure out why this beautiful, brilliant woman wanted to spend time with me. Took me 6 months to work up the courage to ask her out. What did she say? She said, finally, I was starting to think you were gay. Claire laughed. The first real laugh Marcus had heard from her. She sounds wonderful. She was. Smart, funny, stubborn as hell. When I found the files, when I told her what I'd discovered, she didn't hesitate. Said we had to report it. Said it was the right thing to do. Even knowing the risk. She believed that doing right was more important than being safe. She used to say that cowardice was a choice and she refused to make it. And when they came after you, Marcus's grip tightened on the steering wheel. She stood by me. Through the arrest, the trial, all of it. Our friends disappeared. Our families pulled away. But Sarah stayed. What changed? She started investigating on her own. Said she couldn't just sit and wait for someone else to fix it. She was gathering evidence, talking to people, following the money trail. And they found out. I told her to stop, begged her. We fought about it. The last conversation we ever had was a fight. Marcus's voice broke. I told her she was being reckless. She told me I was being a coward. She was right. Marcus. The next morning she was gone. Drove her car off a bridge at 2 a.m. No witnesses. No explanation. Just gone. Silence filled the car. I spent 2 years believing it was my fault, that if I'd supported her, protected her, she'd still be alive. Then I realized the truth. Sarah died because she was brave, because she wouldn't stop fighting, and the best way to honor her was to finish what she started. Is that why you stayed at the company, kept gathering evidence? That's why I kept breathing. Some days it was the only thing that got me out of bed. Claire reached over and touched his arm. She would be proud of you. Maybe. Or maybe she'd be furious that it took this long. Probably both. Marcus almost smiled. Yeah, probably both. They reached Vermont as the sun was setting. The cabin sat at the end of a dirt road, surrounded by pine trees and silence. Small. Weathered. The kind of place that looked like it had stories to tell. This is it. This is it. Claire stepped out of the car. I haven't been here since I was 15. Dad brought me up for a weekend. Said he needed to show me something important. What did he show you? Nothing. He got a phone call the first night. Some emergency at the company. We drove back the next morning. He said we'd come back, but we never did. Maybe this is what he wanted to show you. They approached the cabin. The door was locked, but Claire knew where her father kept the spare key. Under a fake rock by the woodpile. Some things never changed. Inside the cabin was dusty, but intact. Furniture covered with sheets. Photographs on the walls. A life frozen in time. Where would he hide something? I don't know. Let me think. Claire walked through the small space. Living room. Kitchen. 2 bedrooms. A bathroom. There was a cellar. I remember being scared of it as a kid. Dad used to joke that it was where he kept his secrets. Where's the entrance? Kitchen. Under the rug. They moved the kitchen table and pulled back the worn carpet. A trapdoor barely visible set into the floorboards. Marcus pulled it open. Below, darkness. The smell of earth and age. I'll go first. He climbed down the wooden ladder. His phone's flashlight cut through the black. The cellar was small. Concrete walls. Dirt floor. Empty shelves lining the walls. Except one. In the corner, a metal lockbox sat on a shelf, covered in dust. Undisturbed for years. Found something. Claire climbed down behind him. That's it. That has to be it. The lockbox was unlocked. Inside, 3 external hard drives, a stack of photographs, and another letter. Claire opened the letter. My darling Claire, if you found this, you followed the breadcrumbs I left. I'm sorry for the scavenger hunt. Old habits. These drives contain everything. Every transaction. Every account. Every name. Including Victor Crane's. This is my confession. My redemption. Use it wisely. Use it completely. And when it's done, burn this cabin to the ground. Let it die with my sins. I love you more than I ever knew how to say. Your father. Claire's hands trembled. Marcus picked up one of the photographs. His blood ran cold. Claire, look at this. The photograph showed two men shaking hands. One was Henry Ashford, 20 years younger. The other was someone Marcus recognized. That's Senator Williams, chairman of the Senate Banking Committee. Are you sure? I watched his confirmation hearings. He grilled executives about financial transparency, talked about the importance of accountability. Marcus flipped to the next photograph. And this is Judge Morrison. She's ruled on half the corporate fraud cases in the Second Circuit. My father had judges and senators in his pocket. Not your father, Victor Crane. Marcus held up another photograph. This network goes higher than we thought. Much higher. Claire took the photograph from him. If we release this, we're not just taking down a company. We're taking down a system. Politicians, judges, regulators, everyone who looked the other way. They'll come after us. They're already coming after us. Claire looked at the hard drives. We need to make copies, multiple copies, hidden in different places, so even if they find us, they can't bury this. Agreed. And we need to get these to Agent Torres, someone in the FBI we can trust. Can we trust her? She lost her partner to these people. If anyone wants them brought down, it's her. Marcus nodded. Then let's get out of here. I don't want to spend any more time in a place Victor Crane might know about. They climbed out of the cellar, grabbed the lockbox, and headed for the door. They were 3 steps from the car when the headlights appeared. 3 vehicles, coming up the dirt road, fast. Get down. Marcus pulled Claire behind the car as the vehicles screeched to a stop. Doors opened. Men emerged. 6 of them, armed. And leading them was a woman Claire had never seen before. Tall, silver hair, eyes like winter. She walked toward them with the casual confidence of someone who had never been afraid of anything. Claire Ashford, your father talked about you constantly, said you were the best thing he ever made. The woman smiled. He was sentimental. It made him weak. Who are you? My name is Vivian Crane. Victor is my brother, and you have something that belongs to us. Marcus stood slowly, keeping Claire behind him. The FBI knows we're here. The FBI knows what we want them to know. Vivian gestured to her men. The lockbox. Give it to me, and you might live through the night. And if we don't? Then the nice janitor's daughter has a very unfortunate accident. We still have people watching her, Mr. Cole. Your sister's house isn't as secure as you think. Marcus's jaw tightened. You touch her. I won't have to, as long as you cooperate. Claire stepped forward. Take the box. Take everything. Just leave them alone. Claire, no. Marcus. They have Emma. Nothing in that box is worth her life. Vivian smiled. Smart girl. Your father would be proud. She snapped her fingers. One of her men moved forward to take the lockbox, but Claire didn't release it. One condition. Vivian raised an eyebrow. I want to meet your brother, face to face. I want to understand why my father gave his life to your family. My brother doesn't meet with anyone. Then I guess we're at an impasse. Vivian studied her for a long moment. You have your father's spine. I always admired that about him. She considered. Very well, I'll arrange a meeting, but if you try anything, if you contact the FBI, if you make copies, if you do anything other than exactly what I tell you, Emma Cole disappears forever. Do you understand? Claire nodded. Good. Vivian took the lockbox. You'll hear from us within 48 hours. Until then, try to enjoy your freedom. It may be the last you have. She turned and walked back to her vehicle. Her men followed. The cars disappeared down the dirt road, and Marcus and Claire stood alone in the darkness. What did you just do? I bought us time. You gave them everything. No. Claire reached into her jacket and pulled out one of the external hard drives. I gave them most of everything. I kept this one. Marcus stared at her. When did you? When you were looking at the photographs. I slipped it into my pocket. If they find out, They won't. Not until it's too late. Claire looked down the empty road where the vehicles had vanished. My father said Victor Crane was the key, the one who controls everything. If I can get close to him, if I can figure out where he operates from, then we can end this. Then we can end this. Marcus took a deep breath. You know this is probably a trap. I know. And you're going to do it anyway. Claire looked at him. In her eyes, something had changed. The CEO was gone. Something harder had taken her place. My father spent his whole life running from these people, hiding, lying. It killed him in the end. She put the hard drive back in her jacket. I'm done running. She walked to the car. Marcus followed. Behind them, the cabin sat silent in the darkness. A monument to secrets, a grave for sins. And somewhere out there, Victor Crane was waiting. The drive back to New York was silent. Marcus kept checking the rearview mirror every 30 seconds. Looking for headlights, looking for shadows, looking for anything that might tell him they were being followed. Claire sat in the passenger seat, her hand pressed against her jacket where the hard drive was hidden. Her fingers hadn't stopped trembling since they left Vermont. We need to tell Agent Torres. We can't. Claire, they have Emma's location. They have people watching her. If we contact the FBI, Vivian will know. She has people everywhere. My father's letters said as much. Politicians, judges. Who knows how many federal agents are on their payroll? Torres lost her partner to these people. She's clean. You don't know that. You can't know that. Claire turned to face him. The only advantage we have right now is this hard drive. The only leverage. If we give it up, if we trust the wrong person, Emma dies. Marcus's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Then what do? Walk into Victor Crane's trap and hope for the best. We walk into Victor Crane's trap with a plan. What kind of plan? Claire pulled out her phone. My father had contingencies, backup systems, dead man's switches. If he could set them up, so can I. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that Victor Crane has survived this long because nobody's ever had the courage to look him in the eye. Everyone's been too scared, too careful. She scrolled through her contacts. I'm done being careful. Claire, I know someone, a journalist, Catherine Webb. She's been investigating corporate corruption for 20 years. She's untouchable, no political connections, no corporate sponsors, just pure stubborn integrity. How do you know her? She wrote a piece about my father 5 years ago, called him a titan of industry with a heart of gold. Complete nonsense, obviously, but I met her at a fundraiser afterward. We stayed in touch. You think she'll help? I think she's spent her entire career waiting for a story like this. And I think if I give her the hard drive with instructions to release everything if something happens to us, we have insurance. Marcus considered it. Vivian said no copies, no FBI. She didn't say anything about journalists. That's a technicality. Technicalities keep people alive. They reached the city at 3 a.m. Claire called Catherine from a burner phone Marcus had picked up at a gas station. The journalist answered on the second ring, voice thick with sleep. Who is this? Catherine, it's Claire Ashford. I need to see you, tonight. Claire, do you know what time it is? I know, and I know that what I'm about to give you is worth 100 sleepless nights. Can you meet me? Silence on the line. Then where? They met at an all-night diner in Brooklyn. The kind of place where nobody asked questions and the coffee tasted like diesel fuel. Catherine Webb was 63 years old, with gray hair cut short, and eyes that had seen every kind of corruption the world had to offer. She listened without interrupting as Claire told her everything. The elevator, the USB drive, Richard Hayes, the cabin in Vermont, Victor Crane. When Claire finished, Catherine took a long sip of her coffee. You're asking me to sit on the biggest story of my career. I'm asking you to hold it, as insurance. If something happens to us, if we disappear, if we die, if we stop checking in, you release everything. And if you survive, then you get the exclusive, the whole story. First interview, full access. Catherine looked at Marcus. And you, the janitor who started all this. I just want my daughter safe. I don't care about the story. A man without ambition. That's rare in this business. Catherine turned back to Claire. How do I know this isn't some elaborate trap? How do I know you're not trying to manipulate the narrative? Claire slid the hard drive across the table. Because my father was a monster, and I'm trying to make it right. Because I could have buried all of this and protected my family's name. But instead, I'm sitting in a Brooklyn diner at 3 a.m. asking a journalist to help me take down one of the most powerful criminal networks in the world. Catherine picked up the hard drive. I'll need to verify everything. Cross-reference dates, account signatures. Take whatever time you need. Just keep it safe, and keep it secret. What's your check-in protocol? Every 12 hours. I'll text you a code word. If you don't hear from me, wait 24 hours. If there's still nothing, release everything. What's the code word? Claire thought for a moment. Gatsby. Catherine almost smiled. Your father's favorite book. It seemed appropriate. They left the diner as the first light of dawn was breaking over the city. Marcus drove Claire to a hotel in Midtown, somewhere anonymous, somewhere safe. You should try to sleep. I can't sleep. Not until this is over. It won't be over for days, maybe weeks. You need to rest. Claire looked at him. How do you do it? How do you function, knowing the people who destroyed your life are still out there? I don't function. I survive. There's a difference. What's the difference? Functioning means you're living. Surviving means you're waiting. He paused. I've been waiting for 7 years. Tonight, for the first time, I feel like I might actually be living again. Claire reached out and touched his hand. Thank you. For everything. Don't thank me yet. We haven't won anything. We haven't lost either. Marcus looked at her hand on his. Small. Delicate. Stronger than it looked. Get some sleep, Claire. Tomorrow everything changes. She nodded, stepped out of the car, walked into the hotel without looking back. Marcus watched her go. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed his sister's number. Marcus, it's 5 a.m. What's wrong? I need you to take Emma somewhere safe, somewhere off the grid. Can you do that? What's happening? I can't explain. Not yet. Just trust me. Please. Silence. Then, there's a cabin. Mike's family owns it. Upstate. No internet. No cell service. Nobody knows about it. Take her there. Today. Don't tell anyone where you're going. Marcus, you're scaring me. Good. Being scared will keep you both alive. He hung up. Then he drove to his apartment, packed a bag, and waited. The call came 37 hours later. Claire's voice was tight, controlled. The voice of someone who had practiced what they were going to say. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., an address in Connecticut, private estate. Victor Crane. Vivian didn't say, but she implied. What's the play? We show up, we listen, we find out what they want. And if what they want is us dead, then we better make sure Catherine Webb has everything she needs. The estate was an hour outside Hartford. Stone walls, iron gates, the kind of place that screamed money and whispered danger. A guard met them at the entrance, patted them down, took their phones, led them inside without a word. The main house was old money pretending to be older. Antiques, oil paintings, the smell of wood polish and secrets. Vivian Crane waited in the study. Miss Ashford, Mr. Cole, thank you for coming. Did we have a choice? There's always a choice. You chose to live. She gestured to 2 chairs. Please, sit. They sat. Vivian remained standing. My brother will join us shortly. He's very interested in meeting you both. Especially you, Claire. He says you have your father's eyes. Where is he? Patience. He likes to make an entrance. A door opened behind them. Marcus turned. The man who walked in was not what he expected. Victor Crane was 74 years old. Small, thin, The kind of man you'd pass on the street without a second glance. He wore a cardigan and reading glasses. He looked like someone's grandfather. He looked harmless. That was the most terrifying thing about him. "Claire." His voice was soft, gentle. "The last time I saw you, you were 12 years old. Your father brought you to a party in Monaco. You spilled champagne on the Prime Minister's wife." "I don't remember that." "Why would you? You were a child. Children don't remember the things that matter. They only remember the things that hurt." He turned to Marcus. "And you, the accountant who wouldn't stay quiet. I've read your file. Impressive persistence. You murdered my wife." "I've murdered a lot of people's wives. You'll have to be more specific." Marcus lunged. 2 guards grabbed him before he got within 3 feet of Crane. They slammed him back into the chair, pinned his arms. Crane didn't flinch. "I understand the impulse, truly, but violence won't bring her back. Nothing will." He sat down across from them. "Let's talk about the future instead." "What future? The one where you both walk out of here alive." Claire leaned forward. "What do you want?" "What I've always wanted. Stability. Continuity. The machine your father helped build has been running for 40 years. It's survived recessions, administrations' wars. It's bigger than any one person, bigger than any one company. It's a criminal enterprise. It's an economy, parallel to the one you see on television, more efficient, more honest in its way. The official economy runs on lies and regulations. Mine runs on simple transactions, money for services, loyalty for protection. And murder. What does that run on? Necessity." Crane's eyes were cold. "Your father understood that. He was reluctant at first, idealistic. But he learned. They all learn. He was going to expose you. He was going to try. And he would have failed, just like Agent Womack failed. Just like Sarah Cole failed." Marcus strained against the guards. "You admit it. You killed her." "You killed." "I ordered her death. There's a difference. I never touched her. I never spoke to her. I simply made a decision, and the decision was carried out." Crane shrugged. "That's how power works. The people at the top never get their hands dirty." Claire's voice was ice. "Then why are we here? Why not just kill us like you killed everyone else?" "Because you're different, Claire. You're Henry's daughter. You have access to things I need. Board connections, political relationships, the legitimacy of the Ashford name. You want me to work for you. I want you to continue your father's work, with full knowledge this time. No more secrets, no more surprises. And if I refuse, then Mr. Cole's daughter has a very unfortunate accident. Then the journalist you contacted, yes, we know about Catherine Webb, has an even more unfortunate accident. Then you spend the rest of your very short life watching everyone you care about disappear." Silence filled the room. Crane smiled. "I'm not unreasonable. I know this is a lot to process. Take some time. Think about it. But understand there is no scenario where you win. There is no cavalry coming. There is only me and the choice I'm offering you." "What choice? Partnership or extinction?" He stood. "I'll give you 24 hours to decide. Vivian will provide accommodations. I suggest you use the time wisely." He walked toward the door. "One more thing." He paused, turned back. "The hard drive you gave your journalist friend. It's incomplete. You kept something back. I know because my sister isn't as thorough as she thinks she is." Vivian's face flickered. "I want it, whatever's on it. Bring it to me when you've made your decision. Consider it a gesture of good faith." He left. The guards released Marcus. Vivian's eyes burned with barely contained fury. "You lied to me." "I hedged my bets. There's a difference. My brother may be patient, but I'm not. If you try anything..." "I heard the threats. Emma, Catherine, everyone I've ever met." Claire stood. "But here's what your brother doesn't understand. I'm not my father. I don't break under pressure. I don't make deals with monsters. Then you'll die. Maybe, but I'll die knowing I didn't become one of you. They were escorted to a guest room, locked in, guards outside the door. Marcus paced like a caged animal. We're trapped. We're thinking. Thinking won't stop them from killing us. It might, if we think hard enough. Claire sat on the bed, her mind racing. Crane said the hard drive was incomplete. He knows I kept something back. So he doesn't know what's on it. He's guessing. How does that help us? Because information is power, and right now we have information he doesn't. One hard drive against an empire. Those aren't great odds. They're better than nothing. Claire pulled a pen from her pocket, started writing on the notepad beside the bed. What are you doing? Making a list. Everyone Crane mentioned. Everyone my father's letters referenced. Politicians, judges, business leaders. Why? Because there's a pattern. There's always a pattern. My father found it. Agent Womack found it. Your wife found it. She looked up at him. We just need to find it too. Marcus sat beside her. What kind of pattern? I don't know yet, but look at the names. Senator Williams, Judge Morrison, the SEC commissioner who retired last year, the Treasury official who signed off on the bank bailouts. They're all connected to Crane. They're all connected to the same accounts. The ones on the hard drive. Payments going back decades. Bribes. More than bribes. Investments. Crane doesn't just buy people. He owns them. He makes them dependent on him. Their careers, their families, their entire lives are built on his money. So he has an army of compromised officials. An army that will do anything to protect him. Because protecting him means protecting themselves. Marcus stared at the list. How do you fight something like that? You don't fight it, you expose it, all at once. So many names, so much evidence that they can't bury it. They can't spin it. They can't make it go away. Catherine Webb. Catherine Webb. And every other journalist, blogger, and citizen reporter who's hungry for a story. We don't just leak this. We flood the zone, make it impossible to ignore. Crane will kill us before we get the chance. Maybe. Probably. Claire put down the pen. But my father spent his whole life afraid of Victor Crane, afraid of what he could do, and in the end, that fear killed him more surely than any bullet. So you're not afraid. I'm terrified, but I'm also angry, and right now the anger is winning. Marcus looked at her. This woman who had inherited an empire of lies and was trying to burn it down from the inside. Sarah would have liked you. Claire's eyes softened. I wish I'd met her. She would have said you were crazy, then she would have helped anyway. That's the best kind of person. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Claire spoke again. There's a phone in the bathroom. Old landline. Crane probably thinks it's disconnected, but these old estates usually have backup systems. You want to make a call? I want to send a message to Catherine, to Torres, to everyone. How? The same way my father did. Dead man's switch. If we don't check in, everything releases automatically. Files, names, account numbers, all of it. Crane will know. Crane will know we have leverage. That's the point. Right now we're disposable. If we make ourselves valuable, if we make our survival necessary for his survival, we change the equation. That's a dangerous game. It's the only game we have. Marcus stood. I'll check the bathroom. See if the line's live. He was gone for 3 minutes. When he came back, he was smiling. Dial tone. Faint, but it's there. Then let's make some calls. They worked through the night. Claire called Catherine first. Gave her a coded message that meant, release in 6 hours if you don't hear from me. Then she called Agent Torres. Left a voicemail with the estate's address and a single sentence. Victor Crane is here. Come now. Then she called every journalist in her contacts, every blogger, every whistleblower she'd ever heard of. By dawn, 23, people knew where they were. 23 people had copies of the evidence. 23 ticking time bombs waiting to explode. When Vivian came to get them at 8 a.m., Claire was ready. "My brother wants your answer." "My answer is no." Vivian's face hardened. "Then you've chosen death." "I've chosen leverage." Claire smiled. "Check your phone." Vivian pulled out her phone, scrolled through the notifications. Her face went pale. "What did you do?" "I made myself valuable. Right now, 23 journalists, federal agents, and concerned citizens have copies of everything on that hard drive. If anything happens to us, if we don't check in every 6 hours, it all goes public." "You're bluffing." "Call my bluff. Kill us right now. See what happens." Vivian's hand moved toward her weapon. "I said call my bluff, not throw a tantrum." Marcus stepped between them. "Think about it. Your brother survives because nobody talks, because everyone's too scared to act. But if 23 people release evidence simultaneously, there's no covering it up, no spin, no damage control. The whole system collapses." Your brother will do what he always does, calculate. And right now, the calculation says we're worth more alive than dead." Vivian stared at them. Then she turned and walked out of the room. 10 minutes later, Victor Crane appeared. He didn't look angry. He looked impressed. 23 people. In one night. From a locked room with a disconnected phone. He shook his head. "Henry always said you were the smart one." "My father underestimated me." "He underestimated a lot of things. It's what got him killed." Crane sat down. "So, you've changed the equation. What do you want?" "I want out. For me and for Marcus. Full immunity. No surveillance. No threats. We walk away and we never speak of this again. And in return, we keep quiet. The files stay buried. Your operation continues." Crane considered it. "That's a reasonable offer, from a reasonable person." He leaned forward. "But I'm not a reasonable person, Claire. I'm a survivor, and survivors don't leave loose ends." "Then we're at an impasse. We're at a negotiation. There's a difference." He stood. "I'll give you what you want. Freedom, safety, a new life, but I want something in return." "What?" "One name. One person who can take Richard Hayes's place. Someone inside your company who can continue the work. Someone you trust." "You want me to give you someone to corrupt?" "I want you to give me someone to save. The way your father saved you. By keeping you ignorant. By keeping you clean." Claire's jaw tightened. "And if I refuse?" "Then we test your leverage. We see how many of your 23 contacts actually have the courage to publish. We see how many disappear before they get the chance." "You'd burn down your own network." "I'd rebuild it. I've done it before. But you, Claire, you don't get to rebuild. You get one life, one daughter, one chance." He looked at Marcus. "You understand that, don't you? The arithmetic of loss." Marcus said nothing. Crane smiled. "I'll give you 1 hour. Think carefully. This is the last offer you'll ever receive from me." He left. The door locked behind him. Claire collapsed into a chair. "He's right. The leverage isn't enough. He'll call our bluff. He'll kill us and take his chances." "Maybe not." "Marcus, you heard him. He's survived 40 years. He knows how to calculate risk." "Then we need to change his calculation." "How?" Marcus pulled something from his pocket. A phone. Small. Black. Not theirs. "Where did you get that?" "Lifted it from one of the guards last night. When they were patting me down, I slipped my hand into his jacket. Old pickpocket trick. Learned it from a guy in holding when I was awaiting trial." Claire stared at him. "You've been holding out on me." "I've been waiting for the right moment." He turned on the phone. "Crane thinks he controls all the variables. He doesn't know about this. He doesn't know that we have direct communication with the outside." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to call Agent Torres, give her our exact location, and tell her to bring everything she has." "Crane has people in the FBI." "Maybe. But Torres has been building a case for 7 years. She has people too. People who want Crane dead as badly as we do. If they don't get here in time, then we're dead anyway, but at least we'll die fighting. Claire looked at the phone. Then she looked at Marcus. This man who had lost everything, who had been invisible for 7 years, who was now risking what little he had left. Why are you doing this? Really? You could have walked away, made a deal with Crane, protected Emma. Because some things are more important than survival. Like what? Like being able to look my daughter in the eye and tell her I did the right thing. Like honoring the woman who died because she wouldn't stop fighting. Like proving that the invisible people, the ones who mop floors and empty trash and get stepped on every day, like proving that we matter. His voice cracked. I've spent 7 years being nothing, being nobody, and I'm tired. I'm so goddamn tired of being invisible. Claire reached out and took his hand. You're not invisible. Not to me. They looked at each other for a long moment. Then Marcus dialed. Agent Torres, it's Marcus Cole. I need you to listen very carefully. 53 minutes later, the first helicopter appeared over the estate. Then the second. Then the convoy of SUVs crashing through the gates. Vivian Crane burst into the room, weapon drawn. What did you do? I changed the calculation. Gunfire erupted outside, shouting, the sound of doors being breached. Vivian raised her weapon at Claire. If I'm going down, you're coming with me. Marcus moved. He tackled Vivian from the side, knocked the gun from her hand. They struggled on the floor, grappling for control. Claire grabbed the weapon, aimed it at Vivian's head. Don't move. Vivian froze. Marcus stood breathing hard. The door burst open. FBI agents poured in. Torres at the front. Clear. We've got them. Vivian was pinned to the ground, handcuffs locked around her wrists. Torres looked at Claire. Victor Crane. Somewhere in the house. He was here 20 minutes ago. We'll find him. But they didn't. They searched the entire estate. Every room, every passage, every hidden door. Victor Crane was gone. Like smoke. Like a ghost. Like he had never existed at all. Torres found them an hour later sitting on the steps of the main house. We got Vivian. 15 of Crane's operatives. Enough evidence to put them away for decades. But not him. Not yet. But we will. We know his network now, his accounts, his contacts. It's only a matter of time. Claire stared at the horizon. He'll rebuild. He'll find new people, new accounts. He'll disappear and start again. Maybe. But he'll do it knowing that someone beat him, that someone stood up and didn't break. Torres put her hand on Claire's shoulder. Your father would be proud. My father was a coward. Your father was complicated, but at the end he tried to make it right. That has to count for something. Claire said nothing. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from his sister. Emma's safe, watching the news. Wants to know if her dad is a hero. He typed back, tell her I'm just a dad who got lucky. The response came immediately. She says that's exactly what a hero would say. Marcus smiled. For the first time in 7 years, it didn't hurt. 3 days passed. Victor Crane remained a ghost. The FBI tracked his network across 4 continents. Frozen accounts in Switzerland. Shell companies in Singapore. Safe houses in Buenos Aires. But the man himself had vanished, slipping through their fingers like water through sand. Marcus sat in the FBI field office staring at a wall covered in photographs. Crane's known associates, his properties, his victims. Sarah's photo was up there too. Second row from the top. Case number 2017-21. We'll find him. Torres stood beside him, coffee in hand, eyes red from too many sleepless nights. When? I don't know, but we will. You've been saying that for 7 years. And I'll keep saying it until it's true. Marcus turned away from the wall. I need to see my daughter. We can arrange transport, protective detail. No protective detail, no FBI, just me and Emma. Marcus Crane is still out there. He knows who you are, where your family is. We can't just... I've spent 7 years hiding. 7 years watching my daughter grow up through phone calls and photographs. I'm done. Torres studied him for a long moment. You're sure? I'm sure. She nodded slowly. I'll have someone drive you to your sister's place. After that, you're on your own. That's all I've ever been. The drive took 4 hours. Marcus spent most of it staring out the window, watching the city give way to suburbs, suburbs give way to countryside. Every mile felt like a weight lifting from his chest. His phone buzzed, a text from Claire. Board meeting tomorrow. They want me to resign. He typed back, what are you going to do? What I should have done years ago. Fight. Marcus smiled. The car pulled up to a cabin at the edge of a lake. Small, remote, the kind of place where you could disappear and never be found. His sister met him at the door. She's been asking about you every 5 minutes. How is she? Scared, confused, proud. She paused. She saw the news, all of it. What did you tell her? The truth, that her father is a good man who did a hard thing. The door behind her opened. Emma stood there, 12 years old, brown hair in a messy ponytail, eyes that looked exactly like Sarah's. Daddy. Marcus's voice caught in his throat. Hey, sweetheart. She ran to him, threw her arms around his neck, held on like she was afraid he might disappear. I thought you were dead. The news said people died. They said, I'm okay, I'm right here. Promise you won't leave again. Marcus closed his eyes, felt his daughter's heart beating against his chest. I promise. They stayed that way for a long time. Father and daughter, together at last. That night they sat by the fire. Emma had 1,000 questions. Marcus answered what he could. Some things he held back. Some things a 12-year-old didn't need to know. The woman on TV, Claire Ashford. Is she your friend? She's complicated. The news said her dad was a bad guy, like a criminal. Her dad made bad choices, but Claire's trying to make things right. Like you did. Marcus looked at his daughter, so young, so earnest, still believing that the world made sense. Yeah, sweetheart, like I did. Mom would be proud of you. The words hit him like a physical blow. You think so? She always said you were the bravest person she knew, even when you were scared. Your mom was the brave one, not me. She said you'd say that too. Emma pulled something from her pocket, a photograph, worn and creased from years of handling. Sarah, smiling, standing in front of the house they used to share. I found it in your stuff, when we were packing to move. I've been carrying it with me ever since. Marcus took the photograph, his hands trembling. She looks happy. She was happy. With you. With us. Emma leaned against his shoulder. That's what I want to remember. Not the sad stuff, just the happy stuff. Marcus put his arm around her. That's all I want to remember, too. They sat in silence watching the fire burn. Somewhere out there, Victor Crane was planning his next move. But for now, in this moment, Marcus was exactly where he needed to be. The next morning, Claire walked into the Ashford Financial boardroom. 12 chairs, 12 faces, 12 people who had spent years taking orders from her father and pretending not to notice where the money came from. The chairman, David Morrison, spoke first. Claire, given recent events, the board feels it would be best if you step down as CEO, for the good of the company, for the good of the shareholders. Claire remained standing. The good of the shareholders, that's interesting. Tell me, David, which shareholders are you most concerned about? The pension funds you defrauded, the investors you lied to, or the offshore accounts you've been funneling money into for the past 15 years? Morrison's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Account number 77428813, Bank of Zurich. Your name isn't on it, but your wife's maiden name is. Funny coincidence. Morrison gripped the edge of the table. You can't prove anything. I don't have to prove anything. The FBI already has. Claire pulled out her phone. I just got off the phone with Agent Torres. They're executing search warrants as we speak. Your house, your office, your yacht in the Hamptons. This is outrageous. I'll have my lawyers. Your lawyers are being questioned about their own involvement. Turns out, attorney-client privilege doesn't cover conspiracy to commit fraud. Morrison's face contorted with rage. Your father built this company. He trusted us. And you're destroying everything he created. My father was a criminal, and everyone in this room knew it. Claire looked around the table, face by face. Richard Hayes is in federal custody. Vivian Crane is awaiting trial, and Victor Crane is a fugitive. The network is collapsing. The only question is whether you want to go down with it. Silence. Claire placed her phone on the table. I'm offering you a choice. The same choice Victor Crane offered me. Cooperate or be destroyed. You can't. I can, and I will. She straightened. I'm not resigning. I'm cleaning house. Starting with everyone in this room who took money from my father's shadow accounts. The board member to Morrison's left, a woman named Patricia Helm, spoke up. Some of us didn't know. Some of us just followed orders. Then you'll cooperate with the investigation. Provide testimony. Help us identify everyone who was involved. And if we do, then I'll do everything in my power to protect you. Reduced sentences, immunity deals, whatever I can negotiate. And if we don't, Claire smiled, then I'll make sure your names are at the top of every document I give to the FBI, every journalist, every congressional committee investigating corporate corruption. Morrison slammed his fist on the table. You're bluffing. You don't have the authority to. I'm the CEO. I have exactly the authority I need. Claire picked up her phone. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, the offer expires. She walked out of the boardroom without looking back. Her hands were shaking. She made it to her office before the tears came. 48 hours later, 8 board members had agreed to cooperate. Morrison was arrested trying to board a private plane to Dubai. The news broke across every network. Ashford Financial scandal widens. CEO Claire Ashford leads internal purge. Dozens of executives face federal charges. Marcus watched the coverage from his sister's cabin. She's doing it, his sister said. Actually doing it. She's stubborn. Sounds like someone else I know. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Claire. Can we talk in person? He typed back where. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere safe. They met at a diner outside Albany. The same kind of place where they'd met Catherine Webb. Anonymous. Forgettable. The kind of place where nobody asked questions. Claire looked different. Thinner. Harder. The softness in her eyes had been replaced by something else. Something that looked like purpose. You look tired. I haven't slept in 4 days. She sat across from him. But I couldn't stop. Not now. Not when we're so close. Close to what? Crane, I think I know where he is. Marcus set down his coffee. How? The hard drive, the one I kept. I've been going through the files cross-referencing everything. There's a pattern in the transactions. A safe house that doesn't appear in any of the records we gave the FBI. Why not? Because it was my father's. His personal escape route. Somewhere he could go if everything fell apart. And you think Crane knows about it? I think Crane helped him set it up. They were partners for 40 years. They shared everything. Where is it? Montreal, a building my father bought through a trust in 1998. It's been sitting empty ever since. Marcus leaned back. Have you told Torres? Not yet. Why not? Because Torres will send a team. They'll surround the building, execute a warrant, follow protocol. Claire's eyes met his. And Crane will be gone before they get through the front door. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we go ourselves, tonight, before anyone else knows. That's insane. That's the only way. Claire Crane has killed dozens of people. He has resources we can't imagine. Walking into his safe house is suicide. Maybe. But I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of being afraid. She reached across the table and took his hand. I watched my father spend his whole life running from this man. I'm not going to make the same mistake. Marcus looked at her. This woman who had inherited an empire of lies, who had burned it down rather than let it corrupt her, who was now proposing to walk into the lion's den with nothing but determination and a death wish. Sarah would have done the same thing. Is that a yes? It's an observation. He squeezed her hand. But yes, I'll go with you. Why? Because you were right, in the elevator, when you said some things are more important than survival. They drove through the night. Claire had rented a car under a fake name. Cash only. No GPS, no trail. Tell me about your daughter, she said somewhere around the Vermont border. Emma. She's the best thing I ever did. What's she like? Stubborn, smart, kind. She has her mother's eyes. Marcus paused. She asked about you. What did you say? I said you were complicated. Claire laughed, the first genuine laugh he'd heard from her in days. That's diplomatic. I try. What's she going to do while you're gone? Does she know where you are? I told her I had one more thing to take care of. She made me promise to come back. Are you going to keep that promise? I'm going to try. They crossed into Canada at 3 a.m. The border guard barely glanced at their passports. Too tired, too bored. Just another pair of travelers in the middle of the night. Montreal was quiet. The streets empty. The kind of stillness that came before a storm. The building sat at the end of a narrow street in the Old Port District. 4 stories. Unremarkable. The kind of place you'd walk past without a second glance. That's it. That's it. They parked a block away, watched for movement. Nothing. Maybe he's not here. Maybe. Claire opened her door. Only one way to find out. They approached the building from the rear. A service entrance that Claire knew about from her father's files. The lock was old. Marcus picked it in 30 seconds. Where did you learn to do that? Prison. Well, the holding cell. You meet interesting people. They moved through the darkened hallway. Stairs ahead. Offices on either side. All empty. All silent. 3rd floor, Claire whispered. That's where my father had his apartment. They climbed. The stairwell echoed with every footstep, every creak of old wood, every breath that seemed too loud in the stillness. 2nd floor, empty. 3rd floor, a single door at the end of the hall, light underneath. Marcus stopped Claire with a hand on her arm. Let me go first. No. This is my family's mess. I started this. I'll finish it. She walked to the door, put her hand on the knob, pushed it open. Victor Crane sat in an armchair by the window, a book in his lap, a glass of wine on the table beside him. He looked up as they entered. Claire, I was wondering when you'd find this place. He set down the book. Your father always said you were the clever one. It's over, Victor. The FBI is coming. Your network is destroyed. There's nowhere left to run. Run. I'm 74 years old. I've been running for 50 years. I'm tired of running. He stood slowly, his movements careful, deliberate. Do you know what your father and I used to talk about in the early days before the money, before the power? I don't care. We talked about legacy, about building something that would outlast us, something that would matter. He walked toward her. Your father lost sight of that. He got soft, sentimental, started believing his own press. He tried to do the right thing. He tried to destroy everything we built, and it killed him. Crane stopped 3 feet away. Just like it's going to kill you. Marcus stepped forward. Don't. Crane glanced at him. The janitor, still playing hero. He shook his head. Your wife tried to play hero too. Look where it got her. You're going to answer for that. I'm going to answer for a lot of things, eventually, but not tonight. He reached into his jacket. Marcus lunged, but Crane wasn't pulling a weapon. He was pulling an envelope. This is for you, Claire, from your father. He asked me to give it to you if you ever found your way here. Claire stared at the envelope. You're lying. I'm a lot of things, but I've never lied to you, not once. He held out the envelope. Your father wrote this the night before he died. He knew Richard was coming for him. He knew he wouldn't survive. But he wanted you to know the truth. What truth? The truth about why he did what he did. The truth about why he couldn't stop. Crane's voice softened. The truth about how much he loved you. Claire took the envelope, her hands trembling. This doesn't change anything. You're still a murderer. You're still going to prison. Maybe, but at least you'll understand. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. Crane turned toward the window. Your FBI friend moves faster than I expected. I underestimated her. She lost her partner because of you. She's been hunting you for 7 years. Everyone's been hunting me for 7 years. I'm used to it. He looked back at Claire. Read the letter, then decide what you want to do. The door burst open. FBI agents poured in. Weapons drawn, commands shouted. Crane raised his hand slowly. Victor Crane, you're under arrest for murder, racketeering, fraud, and conspiracy. You have the right to remain silent. I know my rights. Crane smiled. I've been listening to them my whole life. They cuffed him, led him toward the door. As he passed Claire, he stopped. Your father was a good man once, before me, before all of this. His eyes met hers. You're a better one. Then he was gone. Claire stood in the empty room, the envelope clutched in her hands. Marcus approached her slowly. Are you okay? I don't know. She looked at the envelope. I don't know if I want to read this. You don't have to. Not tonight. Not ever if you don't want. But I need to know. Don't I? I need to understand. Understanding doesn't always help. Sometimes it just hurts more. Claire sat down in the chair Crane had vacated, the chair that still held his warmth. My whole life I thought I knew who my father was. The successful businessman, the generous philanthropist, the loving dad who took me to that cabin in Vermont. She turned the envelope over in her hands, but I never really knew him. Not the real him. Maybe that was the point. Maybe he wanted to protect you from the real him. Or maybe he was just a coward who couldn't face what he'd become. She opened the envelope. Inside 3 handwritten pages. Her father's handwriting. The same handwriting from the letters in the safe. She began to read. Marcus stood by the window watching the lights of police cars flashing below. They'd won. After 7 years, they'd finally won. So why did it feel so hollow? Behind him, Claire made a sound. Somewhere between a gasp and a sob. He turned. Tears streamed down her face. But she wasn't crying with grief. She was crying with something else. Relief. What does it say? Claire lowered the letter. He says he's sorry. For everything. For the lies. For the secrets. For the person he became. She wiped her eyes. He says he never wanted this life. That he got pulled in when he was young and desperate and didn't know any other way. Does that change anything? No, it doesn't excuse what he did. She looked at the letter again. But it explains it, and somehow that matters. What else does it say? He says he knew the day would come when I'd find out the truth. He says he hoped I'd be strong enough to handle it, strong enough to do what he couldn't. which is end it completely. Not just the company, not just the network, the whole system, the whole rotten machine that he helped build. She folded the letter carefully. He says the evidence I need is in a vault in Geneva. Everything. Every politician he bribed. Every judge he owned. Every crime he committed or covered up. He set it up years ago in case he ever needed leverage. Leverage against who? Against Crane. Against the people who controlled him. Claire stood. My father wasn't just a participant. He was trying to build an escape route. A way to take down the whole network if he ever found the courage. But he never did. No, he never did. She looked at Marcus. But I can. Agent Torres found them an hour later. Crane is in custody. He's not talking, but with the evidence we have, it doesn't matter. He'll die in prison. Good. There's something else. Torres hesitated. We found documents in the building, your father's documents. They reference accounts and individuals we didn't know about. I know. Claire handed her the letter. There's more. In Geneva, everything my father knew about everyone involved. Torres read the letter, her face shifting through a dozen emotions. This could take down half of Washington. I know. Are you sure you want to open this door? Once it's open, there's no closing it. Claire looked at Marcus. He nodded. Open it, Claire said. Open all of it. Let the whole world see what they've been hiding. Torres put the letter in her pocket. I'll need you to testify. Both of you. Grand jury. Congressional hearings. Maybe trials. We'll be there. It could take years. Your life will never be the same. My life stopped being the same the moment I stepped into that elevator. Claire extended her hand. Let's finish this. Torres shook it. Your father would be proud. Maybe. Or maybe he'd be terrified. Claire smiled just slightly. Probably both. They walked out of the building together. The sun was rising over Montreal. Golden light spilling across old stone. A new day beginning. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Are you coming home? He typed back. On my way. Promise? Promise. He looked at Claire. I have to go. I know. She touched his arm. Thank you, Marcus, for everything. I couldn't have done this without you. You would have found a way. You're stubborn like that. I learned from watching you. They stood there for a moment. Two people who had survived the unsurvivable, who had looked into the darkness and refused to blink. What will you do now? Marcus asked. Rebuild. Not the company, not the name, just something real, something honest. She paused. Maybe start a foundation. Help whistleblowers. Protect the people who have the courage to speak up. That sounds like something Sarah would have done. I'll take that as a compliment. It was meant as one. Claire reached into her pocket and pulled out the USB drive. The one that had started everything. The one Marcus had worn around his neck for 7 years. I think this belongs to you. Marcus took it, felt its weight in his palm. I used to think this was my whole life. Every sleepless night, every missed birthday, every moment I spent invisible. And now it's just a piece of plastic. He slipped it into his pocket. My life is waiting for me in a cabin by a lake. Claire smiled. Go. Be a father. Be happy. What about you? I'll be fine. I have work to do. She straightened her shoulders. And for the first time in my life, it's work I actually believe in. Marcus turned to go, then stopped. Claire? Yes. The night we were trapped in that elevator. When you first looked at me, really looked at me, what did you see? Claire considered the question. I saw a man who had lost everything and kept standing. A man who refused to give up even when giving up would have been easier. She paused. I saw someone worth fighting for. Marcus nodded slowly. Sarah used to say that the measure of a person isn't what they do when things are easy, It's what they do when things are impossible. She sounds wise. She was. She is. He met Claire's eyes. You remind me of her. Claire's expression softened. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. It was meant as a compliment. I know. They stood there for one more moment. Then Marcus turned and walked away. Behind him, Claire watched him go. This man who had emerged from invisibility to change everything. Who had reminded her that courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was the decision to act despite it. She pulled out her phone, dialed a number. Catherine. It's Claire. I have another story for you. The biggest one yet. She looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there her father was watching. And for the first time, she didn't feel his shame. She felt his hope. 6 months later, the snow was falling on Washington, D.C. Marcus Cole sat in a waiting room outside the Senate chamber, watching the flakes drift past the window. His suit was new. His shoes were polished. His hands, for the first time in years, were soft again. No more calluses. No more mop handles. No more invisibility. Mr. Cole! A young aide appeared at the door. They're ready for you. Marcus stood, straightened his tie, took a breath. Dad? He turned. Emma stood behind him, 13 now. Taller than the last time he'd measured her, wearing the same determined expression her mother used to wear. You've got this. How do you know? Because you're my dad, and my dad doesn't quit. Marcus pulled her into a hug. When did you get so smart? I learned from watching you. He held her for a moment longer, then let go. Save me a seat. Front row, right where you can see me. Marcus walked through the doors. The Senate chamber was packed. Cameras everywhere. Reporters in every corner. The biggest congressional hearing in a decade, they were calling it. The trial of the century. Victor Crane sat at the defendant's table. Orange jumpsuit. Handcuffs. The same calm expression he'd worn in Montreal. Their eyes met across the room. Crane smiled. Marcus didn't. He walked to the witness stand, placed his hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Then he began to speak. He told them everything. The discrepancies he'd found in 2017, the offshore accounts, the shell companies, the $3 billion moving through shadows. He told them about going to Henry Ashford, about being arrested, about watching his career, his marriage, his entire life crumble in a matter of weeks. He told them about Sarah. My wife believed that the truth mattered, that speaking up was more important than staying safe. His voice cracked. They killed her for that belief, made it look like suicide, made sure no one would ever listen to what she'd found. Mr. Cole. The senator leading the hearing leaned forward. Can you identify the person responsible for your wife's death? Marcus looked at Victor Crane. That man, Victor Crane. He ordered it. He admitted it to me personally in his estate in Connecticut before the FBI raid. Crane's smile didn't waver. And you have evidence to support this claim. I have 7 years of evidence, documents, recordings, financial trails, everything my wife gathered before she was murdered and everything I've gathered since. The senator nodded. The committee has reviewed the materials you've provided. They are extensive. They're damning, and they prove that Mr. Crane's network extends far beyond financial fraud. Politicians, judges, law enforcement officials, an entire system designed to protect the powerful and silence anyone who tried to expose them. The chamber erupted, shouting from the gallery, gavels banging, reporters scrambling. Through it all, Marcus kept his eyes on Crane. The old man was still smiling. But now, for the first time, there was something else in his eyes. Fear. The testimony lasted 3 days. Marcus wasn't the only witness. Claire testified. Agent Torres testified. Catherine Webb presented her investigative findings. Dozens of former Ashford employees came forward with their own stories. The Geneva vault had been opened. Every document Henry Ashford had gathered over 40 years was now public record. Names, dates, amounts. A roadmap of corruption stretching across continents and decades. 14 senators were under investigation. 23 federal judges faced impeachment proceedings. The Secretary of Commerce had resigned in disgrace. And Victor Crane, the ghost who had haunted them all, was finally facing justice. On the final day of the hearings, Claire took the stand. She looked different than she had 6 months ago. Stronger, clearer, like someone who had walked through fire and emerged tempered rather than burned. Miss Ashford, you were the CEO of Ashford Financial during the period in question. Can you describe your knowledge of the illegal activities conducted by your company? I had no direct knowledge until the night I was trapped in an elevator with Marcus Cole. Claire's voice was steady. But ignorance is not innocence. I signed documents without reading them. I trusted people who didn't deserve trust. I benefited from a system I didn't understand. Are you accepting responsibility for your role in these crimes? I'm accepting responsibility for my failure to see what was happening, my failure to ask questions, my failure to be the leader my company needed. She paused. But I'm also committed to making it right. I've dissolved Ashford Financial. I've liquidated my personal assets to establish a fund for victims of corporate fraud. And I've testified against every person who participated in my father's crimes, including members of my own family. Your uncle Richard Hayes was recently convicted of murder and racketeering. Did you have any prior knowledge of his involvement? No. Richard was like a second father to me. I trusted him completely. Claire's jaw tightened. That trust was the biggest mistake of my life. And your biological father, Henry Ashford? What do you want the record to show about him? Claire was quiet for a long moment. My father was a complicated man. He did terrible things. He hurt people. He destroyed lives. She looked at Marcus in the gallery. But at the end, he tried to make it right. He left behind the evidence that made these hearings possible. He gave us the tools to dismantle everything he'd built. Do you believe that redeems him? No. Nothing redeems what he did. But it gives me hope that people can change. That even the worst of us can find the courage to do the right thing eventually. Even if it's too late. It's never too late to tell the truth. It's only too late to undo the damage. The senator nodded. Thank you, Miss Ashford. Your testimony has been invaluable. Claire stepped down from the witness stand. As she passed Victor Crane, she stopped. You told me my father was weak, that his sentimentality destroyed him. Her voice was low, but every camera in the room caught it. You were wrong. His sentimentality saved us. His love for me, the love you said made him weak, that's what brought you down. Crane's smile finally faded. You think this is over? You think putting me in prison ends anything? He leaned forward, his voice a hiss. The machine is bigger than me, bigger than your father, bigger than anything you can imagine. Cut off one head and 2 more grow back. Maybe. But at least everyone will see the heads now. No more shadows, no more secrets. Claire straightened. You spent your whole life being invisible. Now the whole world knows exactly who you are. She walked away. Crane watched her go. And for the first time in 50 years, Victor Crane had nothing to say. The verdict came 2 weeks later. Guilty on all counts. Victor Crane was sentenced to 7 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. He would die in a federal supermax prison alone, forgotten, stripped of everything he'd built. The same fate he'd inflicted on so many others. Marcus watched the sentencing from the gallery. Emma sat beside him, holding his hand. Is it over now, Dad? Almost, sweetheart. Almost. That night they drove to Maryland, to the cemetery where Sarah Cole was buried. The headstone was simple. Just her name, her dates, and a single line. She spoke the truth. Marcus knelt in front of it, Emma beside him. "Hey, Sarah. It's been a while." The wind rustled through the trees. Cold. Clean. Alive. "I did it. We did it. Everything you started, everything you died for, it's finished now. Crane is in prison. The network is destroyed. The truth is out." He reached into his pocket, pulled out the USB drive, the one he'd worn around his neck for 7 years. "I don't need this anymore. I thought I'd feel empty without it, lost. But I don't. I feel free." He placed the drive on her headstone. "This belongs to you. You're the one who found it. You're the one who had the courage to act on it. I just carried it for a while." Emma's voice was soft beside him. "Mom would be proud of you, Dad." "I hope so." "She is. I know it." Marcus put his arm around his daughter. "You know what she used to say, that the truth is like water. You can try to dam it up, hold it back, pretend it doesn't exist. But eventually it finds a way through. It always finds a way." She was right. She was always right. That's what made her so annoying. Emma laughed. A real laugh. The kind Marcus hadn't heard in years. They stayed until the sun set. Then they went home. 3 months after the trial, Claire Ashford stood at a podium in New York City. Behind her a banner read, "The Sarah Cole Foundation for Corporate Accountability." The room was packed. Journalists, activists, whistleblowers from around the world. People who had risked everything to speak the truth and paid the price. Marcus sat in the front row. Emma beside him. 7 years ago, a woman named Sarah Cole discovered something she wasn't supposed to find. Claire's voice carried across the room. She could have stayed quiet. She could have protected herself and her family. Instead, she chose to speak up, and it cost her everything. Claire paused. "I never met Sarah, but I know her through the people she left behind, through her husband Marcus, who carried her legacy for 7 years in the face of impossible odds, through her daughter Emma, who grew up without a mother but never stopped believing in what her mother stood for." She looked at Marcus. "Sarah Cole is the reason we're here today. The reason Victor Crane is in prison. The reason an entire network of corruption has been exposed." Her voice strengthened. "And she's the reason this foundation exists. To protect the people who speak up. To give them the resources and support they need to survive. To make sure that what happened to Sarah never happens again." Applause filled the room. Claire waited for it to subside. "But this isn't just about Sarah. It's about every person who's ever seen something wrong and felt powerless to stop it. Every employee who noticed fraud and didn't know who to tell. Every witness who wanted to come forward but was too afraid." She gestured to the people in the room. "You're not alone. You're not powerless. And from this day forward, you have somewhere to turn." More applause. Standing ovation. Claire stepped down from the podium. Marcus met her at the edge of the stage. "Nice speech." "I meant every word." "I know. That's what made it nice." Claire smiled. "How does it feel seeing her name up there?" Marcus looked at the banner. Sarah's name in letters 3 feet tall. "It feels like she's finally getting the recognition she deserved, like her death wasn't for nothing." "It wasn't. It never was. I know that now. I didn't always." Emma appeared beside them. "That was really cool, Ms. Ashford." "Thank you, Emma, and please call me Claire." "Claire." Emma tested the name. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "My dad says you saved his life, in the elevator, when the cables snapped." Claire looked at Marcus. "Your dad saved mine first. He just doesn't like to admit it." "That's not how he tells the story." "Well, your dad is modest. It's one of his few flaws." Emma grinned. "He also says you're stubborn." "That's true, but I prefer persistent." "He says that's what you would say." Marcus interrupted. "Okay, that's enough bonding over my character flaws." "There's more." Claire raised an eyebrow. "Do tell." Don't encourage her. But he was smiling, really smiling. The kind of smile that reached his eyes. The kind of smile he hadn't worn in 7 years. That night, after the reception, after the speeches, after the endless handshakes and photographs, Marcus and Emma drove home. The cabin by the lake. Their cabin now. The place they'd made their own. Dad. Yeah. Are you happy? Marcus thought about it. You know what I think I am. You think? I'm still getting used to it. Being happy. It's been a while. Emma nodded. I'm happy too. Yeah. Yeah, I mean I still miss Mom. Every day. But it's different now. It doesn't hurt as much. It gets easier. It doesn't go away, but it gets easier. Is that what happened to you? That's what's happening. Right now. Every day. He reached over and squeezed her hand. Having you helps. Having a purpose helps. Knowing that what we went through meant something that helps most of all. They pulled up to the cabin. The lights were on inside. Marcus's sister had made dinner. Normal, domestic. The kind of life he'd thought he'd never have again. Dad. Yeah. I'm glad you didn't give up, all those years. I'm glad you kept fighting. I almost did. More times than you know. But you didn't. No, I didn't. Why? Marcus turned off the car, sat in the darkness for a moment. Because every time I wanted to quit, I thought about you. About the kind of father I wanted to be. The kind of man I wanted you to see when you looked at me. What kind? The kind who keeps his promises. The kind who stands up for what's right even when it's hard. The kind who doesn't let the bad guys win. Emma was quiet for a moment. You are that kind of man, Dad. You always were. I'm trying to be. You are. She opened her door. Now come on. Aunt Lisa made lasagna, and I'm starving. Marcus laughed. Your mother's favorite. I know, that's why I asked for it. They walked into the cabin together. 1 year after the trial, a dedication ceremony was held in Washington, D.C., a memorial wall in the Department of Justice building. Names engraved in marble. Every person who had died exposing corporate corruption. Every whistleblower who had paid the ultimate price. Sarah Cole's name was at the top. Marcus stood before it. Claire beside him. Emma between them. She would have hated this, Marcus said quietly. The attention. The fuss. She always said the work was what mattered, not the recognition. Maybe, but recognition matters too. It tells the next generation that these sacrifices meant something, that these people aren't forgotten. Marcus traced Sarah's name with his finger. I used to be so angry. At Crane, at Ashford, at the whole system that let them get away with it for so long. And now I'm just tired. Tired, but grateful. He stepped back from the wall. Grateful that it's over. Grateful that Emma got to see her mother's name honored. Grateful that I got to be part of ending it. You were more than part of it, Marcus. You were the catalyst. None of this happens without you. None of this happens without Sarah. I just finished what she started. Agent Torres approached them. Mr. Cole, Miss Ashford, thank you for coming. Wouldn't miss it. Torres looked at the wall. Patricia's name is up there too, my partner. I stood where you're standing when they dedicated it to her. How did it feel? Like closure, like finally being able to exhale after holding my breath for years. She paused. But also like the beginning of something. A reminder that the fight isn't over. That there will always be people like Crane. And there will always need to be people like us to stop them. Is that why you're still doing this? Still chasing the next case? It's why I'll always do this, until I can't anymore. Marcus nodded. Sarah would have liked you. I like to think so. Torres smiled. She was one of the good ones. The best. The ceremony began. Speeches, music, the the reading of names. When they reached Sarah Cole, Emma stepped forward. My mom was a hero, not the kind you see in movies, not the kind with superpowers or capes, just a regular person who saw something wrong and couldn't look away. Her voice was steady, stronger than Marcus had ever heard it. She used to tell me that courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about being afraid and doing the right thing anyway. She was afraid. I know she was, but she did it anyway. Emma looked at her father. My dad taught me that her sacrifice meant something. That the truth she died for finally came out. That the people who hurt her are in prison now. She turned back to the crowd. I miss her every day. But I'm proud to be her daughter. Proud that her name is on this wall. Proud that people will remember her. Her voice caught. I hope I'm half as brave as she was. I hope when I see something wrong I have the courage to speak up. I hope I make her proud. She stepped back. Marcus pulled her into his arms. You already do, sweetheart. You already do. The ceremony ended. People dispersed. Marcus and Emma stood alone before the wall. What happens now, Dad? Now we live, really live, not just survive. What does that look like? I don't know yet, but I think it looks like this. He gestured around them. Family, purpose, something worth fighting for. That sounds good. It does, doesn't it? They walked out of the building together. Claire was waiting by the car. There's something I need to tell you both. What? The foundation received a donation today. Anonymous. $50 million. Marcus stared at her. 50 million from who? I don't know. The note just said, for Sarah, from someone she helped once a long time ago. Emma's eyes widened. Mom helped someone. Your mother helped a lot of people, more than she ever knew. Claire smiled. This is proof that what she did mattered, that the seeds she planted are still growing. Marcus looked at the sky. Sarah, still saving the world even now. Always. Claire touched his arm. I'm going to use the money to expand the foundation. More staff, more resources, more support for whistleblowers. She'd like that. I know. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Emma spoke. Ms. Ashford Claire, can I ask you something? Of course. My dad says you gave up everything. Your company, your money, your family name. Was it worth it? Claire considered the question. When I was CEO, I had everything society tells you to want. Money, power, status. But I was miserable, empty, going through the motions of a life I didn't choose. And now I have purpose, real purpose. I wake up every day knowing that what I do matters, that I'm making a difference. She looked at Marcus. And I have friends, real friends, people who know who I really am and accept me anyway. So it was worth it. Every single sacrifice. Claire knelt down to Emma's level. Your mother understood that. She knew that some things are more important than comfort, more important than safety, more important than anything. Like truth, like justice, like protecting the people who can't protect themselves. Emma nodded slowly. I want to do what you do. When I grow up, I want to help people like my mom helped people. Then you will. I have no doubt. Claire stood. Come on, I'll buy you both dinner, somewhere nice, to celebrate. Celebrate what? Everything. The trial, the foundation, the fact that we're all still standing. Marcus smiled. Somewhere nice. Does that mean I have to wear this suit? You look good in that suit. I look uncomfortable in this suit. Same thing. They walked to the car together. 3 people who had survived the unsurvivable. 3 people who had looked into the darkness and refused to blink. 3 people who had learned that the truth, no matter how painful, was always worth fighting for. That night after dinner, Marcus drove Emma home. She fell asleep in the passenger seat. Exhausted, at peace. He looked at her for a long moment. His daughter, his reason, his future. 7 years ago, he had been invisible. A ghost haunting the halls of the company that had destroyed him. A man with nothing but a USB drive and a broken heart. Now he was a father, a hero, a symbol of what ordinary people could accomplish when they refused to give up. He had lost so much, but he had gained something too. Purpose, meaning. A second chance at a life worth living. Sarah had given him that. Her courage, her sacrifice, her unwavering belief that the truth mattered. He would carry that with him for the rest of his life. He pulled into the driveway of their cabin. The lights were on inside. His sister waiting with hot chocolate and a warm fire. Home. Marcus woke Emma gently. "We're here, sweetheart." She blinked awake, smiled. "Home." "Yeah, home." They walked inside together. And for the first time in 7 years, Marcus Cole knew exactly who he was. Not a victim, not a janitor, not an invisible man. A father who kept his promises. A witness who told the truth. A survivor who never stopped fighting. The snow continued to fall outside, quiet, peaceful, clean. A new world, a fresh start, a future worth building. Marcus Cole had spent 7 years in the shadows. Now he stood in the light, and he would never be invisible again.